All right, everyone, ready to dive in. Today, we are going deep into cybercrime, specifically in Africa.
Yeah, a lot going on over there.
Yeah, so we're going to be looking at this huge operation. I was called Operation Serengeti, and it just wrapped up.
Huge operation, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking 19 countries,
Wow.
over 1,000 arrests.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, and just a massive trail of financial losses. Just incredible.
Yeah, and what's really wild is this operation uncovered everything, like elaborate credit card fraud,
Yeah.
Ponzi schemes,
Really?
even a virtual casino preying on gamblers.
No way.
All with this digital twist. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It really gives you a glimpse into how vast and organized cybercrime has become.
Okay, so before we get into all those really juicy details,
Clear.
can we take a step back
Of course.
and explain exactly what Operation Serengeti was?
Absolutely. So it was a joint effort between Interpol and Afripol.
Okay.
Basically, the big leagues of international law enforcement.
Right.
And they teamed up from September to October of this year, using intel from the 2024 Africa Cyber Threat Assessment Report to target these criminals.
And they didn't mess around. Over 1,000 suspects arrested.
Yeah.
That's not like
I know.
catching a few teenagers
No,
messing around on their computers.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
They dismantled nearly 135,000 pieces of what they call
Wow.
malicious infrastructure. So think networks of servers, websites,
Right.
systems designed specifically for these criminal activities.
Okay.
And on top of that, they identified over 35,000 victims and uncovered almost $193 million in global losses.
See, that's what's so unsettling, right?
Absolutely.
It makes you wonder what else is lurking out there in the digital shadows.
Oh, for sure. And Interpol's Secretary General Valdeci Urquiza even said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We will continue targeting these criminal groups worldwide, so they're fully aware there's more to uncover.
Well, at least they're on it. But I read that they had help from private companies, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Why was that so important in this operation?
It's crucial because cybercrime is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
You've got these companies, like Fortinet, Group IB, and Kaspersky, who are basically on the front lines of cybersecurity.
You're seeing it every day.
Every day dealing with these threats.
Yeah.
And they provided critical intel, on-the-ground support,
Oh?
and even, real-time help patching up vulnerabilities.
So it's like they're bringing the most up-to-date knowledge of what these criminals are actually doing.
Exactly. It's not just theoretical.
Yeah.
They see the attacks, they analyze the code,
Wow.
they know the tactics, and they worked directly with law enforcement to shut it down.
Uh-huh.
And Ambassador Jalel Chelba, who's the executive director of Afripol, even talked about how this partnership really boosted law enforcement's ability to nab these criminals and better understand the trends they're seeing.
So, okay, this operation was massive, involved all these moving parts, but let's get to the good stuff.
Let's get to it.
What did they actually find?
Yeah, let's dive in.
I read about a credit card fraud scheme in Kenya.
Oh, yeah.
What can you tell me about that one?
That one was sophisticated. So authorities uncovered a ring
Okay.
that had siphoned off $8.6 million
Wow.
using these things called fraudulent scripts. And basically they wrote code designed to sneak past the security measures banks use to protect your accounts. Think of it as like a digital skeleton key for your finances.
$8.6 million, though.
Yeah,
That's a lot of skeleton keys.
it is. It is.
How did they even move that much money around?
So they use Swift transfers,
Okay.
which is a global system banks use to communicate payment instructions, so it's secure for banks. But criminals love exploiting it because once the money is transferred through Swift, it becomes really hard to trace.
Oh, wow.
And in this case, they move the money through companies in the UAE, Nigeria, and China
Wow, all over.
before finally landing it on platforms that deal with digital assets like cryptocurrency.
So they basically laundered it
Pretty much.
through the digital world.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It is.
And they got away with it.
Well, not quite. Authorities managed to arrest nearly 24 suspects connected to this case, but it highlights how tech-savvy these criminals are
Yeah.
and how global their operations can be.
Okay, so we've got complex code, international money laundering.
Yep.
What other schemes did they uncover?
Well, let's shift gears to Senegal,
Okay.
where a massive Ponzi scheme was busted.
Ponzi schemes. So
Yeah.
you've probably heard of those. It's where they promise investors these high returns.
Right.
But the money's not actually invested. It's just used to pay off earlier investors.
Exactly.
Yeah, those seem to be as old as time.
They are.
But what made this one stand out?
Well, this particular scheme managed to dupe over 1,800 people out of $6 million.
No kidding.
When authorities raided the operation,
Yeah.
they found over 900 SIM cards, stacks of cash,
Wow.
phones, laptops, even the victim's ID cards.
Seriously.
Yeah, they even found 5 Chinese nationals involved, which shows you just how far-reaching these schemes can be.
So, not your average neighborhood Ponzi scheme.
No,
This was organized crime.
this was organized.
Wow.
And speaking of organized crime, let's move on to Nigeria, where authorities arrested a man running cryptocurrency investment scams.
Oh, interesting.
He was promising these sky-high returns, which obviously weren't real, and ended up defrauding victims of over $300,000.
So it's almost like they're preying on people's hopes and dreams of striking it rich.
You hit the nail on the head. That desire for quick riches can make people so vulnerable to these kinds of scams, especially with something as hyped as cryptocurrency.
Yeah, okay, so I've got credit card fraud, Ponzi schemes, crypto scams. What else did they find?
Well, in Cameroon, things took a really dark turn.
Oh.
They uncovered a multi-level marketing scheme, which sounds pretty harmless,
Well,
right?
I mean,
Yeah,
kind of.
but this one involved actual human trafficking.
Wait, trafficking? How does that even work with a multi-level marketing scheme?
So they lured victims from 7 different countries
Oh.
with fake job offers. Once they arrived, they were basically held captive and forced to recruit others to the scheme to earn their freedom.
Oh my gosh.
It's horrific and, sadly, very profitable.
How much?
They made at least $150,000 just in recruitment fees.
That's just awful.
It is.
It's hard to believe people could be so cruel.
It shows you how these criminals are willing to exploit anything,
Yeah.
even vulnerable people, to make a profit.
So it's not just about stealing money.
No,
It's about exploiting people's trust. Sad
exotic.
desperation.
Absolutely.
Wow, okay. And speaking of exploiting things,
Yeah.
the last case we'll talk about today comes from Angola, where authorities busted an international group running a virtual casino.
Oh, wow.
A virtual casino? That sounds kind of cool, actually.
It might sound fun, but they were using it to defraud hundreds of people, mostly Brazilians and Nigerians. They were essentially running a pyramid scheme within the casino,
Okay.
offering commissions for recruiting new members.
So you're gambling and getting roped into a pyramid scheme at the same time? Basically,
That's a double whammy.
it is.
And this operation was huge. They arrested 150 people, seized 200 computers, and over 100 mobile phones.
Yeah, a big one.
Mind-blowing to think about the scale of all this.
It is. And remember, we've only just scratched the surface. There's just a few of the cases uncovered during Operation Serengeti. As we said earlier, it really is just the tip of the iceberg.
That's a chilling thought, but at least they're actively working to combat these criminals.
Absolutely. And we'll dive deeper into what that fight looks like in just a bit.
So we've just uncovered this whole underworld of cybercrime, from complex code to human trafficking. It really makes you wonder, what does this mean for the future of online security? Are we all just sitting ducks?
I mean, it's definitely not all doom and gloom.
Okay.
But the reality is these tactics are getting more and more complex. And what's really alarming is just how fast things are evolving.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing these criminals blend those old school scams like Ponzi schemes with cutting edge tech like cryptocurrency.
AI-powered tools. It's a whole new ballgame.
It's almost like a digital arms race, right?
Exactly.
The good guys create new defenses,
Yep.
and then the bad guys immediately figure out a way around them.
Exactly. And it's not just about, technical skills anymore.
Right.
These groups are incredibly organized,
Okay.
often operating across multiple countries
Wow.
with tons of resources. Think of them like multinational corporations, but for crime.
So this isn't just some lone wolf hacker in a basement anymore.
Right?
We're talking about sophisticated networks, maybe even connected to
Larger.
larger criminal organizations.
You got
actually.
it. They have the expertise and the resources to operate on a global scale, which I admit can be a little scary to think about.
It is, but burying our heads in the sand won't help.
No.
So what can everyday people like us actually do to stay safe in this increasingly complex digital world?
Yeah, good question.
Where do we even begin?
Well, I think the most important thing is education.
Okay.
You need to stay informed about the latest scams and cyber threats.
Yeah.
There are tons of resources out there, from, reputable cybersecurity companies to government agencies that can really help you understand the landscape.
So we need to be proactive.
Yes,
Do our research.
absolutely.
Not just wait for something bad to happen.
Exactly. And be skeptical.
Okay.
If something online sounds too good to be true,
Right.
it probably is.
Yeah.
Don't click on suspicious links. Be wary of unsolicited emails
Right.
or messages. And never give out your personal information unless you are absolutely sure you're
Yeah.
dealing with a legitimate source.
It sounds like common sense.
It is.
But you hear about people falling for these scams all the time.
All the time it's true. We tend to, let our guard down online, especially when we're bombarded with so much information.
Right.
But in this environment, vigilance is crucial.
Okay, so stay informed. Be skeptical.
Yeah.
What else can we do to protect ourselves?
Strong passwords are a must.
Oh, yeah,
I
right.
know you've heard it a million times.
Yeah.
But it's so important. Use a unique, complex password for every single online account you have. And consider using a password manager to keep track of them all. Because who can remember all that?
Yeah, I know.
It's a lot.
It can feel like a chore, but I guess it's better than getting hacked.
Way better. A strong password is like your first line of defense in the digital world.
All right, strong passwords, check. What else?
Whenever possible, turn on two-factor authentication.
Two-factor.
It adds an extra layer of security by requiring you to confirm your identity through a second device, like your phone. It's a little bit of a pain, but it makes it way harder for hackers to get into your accounts.
So it's like having a double lock on your digital door?
You got it, and keep your software updated.
Oh, the updates.
Those updates often include security patches that can protect you from the latest vulnerabilities. Don't ignore those annoying little reminders.
We got to stay on top of those updates. Got it.
Stay on top of them, and one more thing.
Okay.
Back up your important data regularly.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You never know when disaster might strike.
Right.
And if you do fall victim to a cyber attack, at least you'll have a copy of your important files.
Okay. That all makes sense, but it also feels like a lot of responsibility falls on individuals
Yeah.
to protect themselves. What about the role of governments and businesses in all of this?
You're right. Individual responsibility is key,
Yeah.
but it's not the whole story.
Right.
Governments and businesses have a huge part to play in creating a safer digital environment for everyone.
So what can they do?
Well, for governments, it's about enacting and enforcing strong cybersecurity laws.
Okay.
They need to invest in training and resources for law enforcement to keep up with these evolving threats.
Yeah.
And, just as importantly, they need to foster international collaboration.
Right.
Cybercrime doesn't stop at borders.
So basically, they need to start treating cybercrime as the serious threat it is.
Exactly. It's a global issue that requires a global response. And businesses need to step up, too.
Okay.
They need to implement strong security measures, educate their employees about best practices, and be transparent with customers about data breaches. No more hiding it under the rug.
So it sounds like it's going to take a collective effort
For sure.
to really tackle this problem.
It absolutely will. Cybersecurity is a shared responsibility.
Yeah.
We all need to work together to create a safer digital world.
Well, this has been incredibly eye-opening,
Yeah.
if a little unsettling.
It is a little unsettling.
It's clear that cybercrime is a complex and pervasive problem.
Definitely.
Some pretty serious consequences.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the good news is,
Yeah.
we're not powerless in the face of this threat.
No, not at all.
We have law enforcement agencies and cybersecurity experts around the world working tirelessly to combat these criminals.
That's right.
And as we've discussed, with increased awareness and proactive measures,
Yeah.
we can all play a part in creating a safer digital world for everyone.
I completely agree. That's the key takeaway I hope our listeners walk away with today.
Okay.
We don't have to be passive victims. By staying informed, being cautious, and advocating for stronger security measures,
Right.
we can empower ourselves and each other to navigate this landscape safely and responsibly.
I like that, focusing on the solutions,
Yeah.
not just the problems.
Exactly. That's the message I want to leave our listeners with. We don't have to be passive victims in this digital world. By staying informed, taking precautions, and advocating for stronger security measures, we can empower ourselves and each other to navigate this landscape safely and responsibly.
You know, as we've been discussing all these cases and just how sophisticated these cyber criminals are, it's made me think about the victims.
Yeah.
We keep mentioning these huge financial losses,
Yeah.
but what about the human cost? There's got to be more to it than just numbers on a screen.
You're absolutely right. It's easy to get caught up in the technical details and the scale of it all.
Right.
But behind every statistic is a real person
Yeah.
whose life has been impacted by these crimes.
Exactly. Like, imagine losing your entire life savings to a Ponzi scheme, or even worse, being tricked into a trafficking ring through a fake job offer.
Oh, absolutely.
The trauma from that must be unimaginable.
It is, and it goes beyond just financial loss or even physical harm. Cybercrime can have a devastating impact on people's mental and emotional well-being.
Yeah, for sure.
Think about identity theft, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Having your personal information stolen and used against you
Hmm.
can make you feel so violated
Yeah.
and incredibly vulnerable.
It's like a violation of your digital self almost.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And the emotional toll can last for years.
Wow.
Victims of cybercrime often struggle with anxiety, depression, and some even experience post-traumatic stress disorder.
It's a serious issue.
It really is.
It really puts things into perspective. Cybercrime isn't just about numbers, it's about real human suffering.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to talk about this side of the issue.
Yeah.
We need to make sure victims have access to support, raise awareness about the emotional impact of these crimes,
Right.
and ultimately work to prevent them from happening in the first place.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it seems like the big takeaway is that cybercrime is a massive problem
It is?
with far-reaching consequences that we're only just beginning to understand.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a global challenge that requires a coordinated global response.
But the good news is we're not powerless in the face of this threat.
No, not at all.
We have law enforcement agencies and cybersecurity experts around the world working tirelessly to combat these criminals.
That's right.
And as we've discussed, with increased awareness and proactive measures, we can all play a part in creating a safer digital world for everyone.
Absolutely. That's the key takeaway I hope our listeners walk away with today.
Okay.
We don't have to be passive victims. By
Well,
staying informed, being cautious, and advocating for stronger security measures, we can empower ourselves and each other to navigate this landscape safely and responsibly.
I love that, empowering ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a great reminder that we all have a role to play in building a safer digital future.
Exactly. And that's what I'd like to leave our listeners with today.
Okay.
Be informed, be proactive, and be vigilant. Together, we can make a difference.
That's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for taking us on this deep dive into the world of cybercrime. It's been an eye-opening journey, to say the least.
It's been my pleasure, and to everyone listening, stay safe out there in the digital world.
And we'll see you next time for another fascinating deep dive into a topic that matters